Today, we'll dive into the chaotic yet exciting process of tearing down my classroom for this school year and getting it ready for next school year. Plus, I'll share some essential new teacher tips for what to do when you first get to your classroom so that you can start your first year of teaching with ease, or as much ease as possible. Let's get into it. Getting a classroom ready for the next school year is an overwhelming process, especially if you're a new teacher. So, I've been in my classroom for the past 3 years. I've been teaching for 11 years. I've been at my school for 5, and this is my second classroom. And the second classroom I've been in for 3 years. And the teacher that was there before me, who retired, really did not take any of her things. So, when I first got into the classroom, I failed to properly and completely declutter the entire classroom. It is a very big classroom. So what I did was just got my basic areas set, like areas that I knew I'd be using a lot, and put my things in between where I could. And now we're here 3 years later, and I'm finally motivated to do a proper decluttering of this classroom. So I figured I'd take you along the way. First things first, lay everything out. Take every single thing out of every drawer, every closet, every cabinet, every cubby. I know that seems overwhelming, but it's essential to have a fresh new start. So if everything's empty and everything's laid out into piles, it'll make it much easier for you to assess what you have and where it should all go. When it comes to decluttering, it's super important to be detached and not get emotionally attached to things or constantly thinking that you're going to need something. If you haven't used it in the past school year or more, like I did, it's more than likely you're not going to use it at all. So just get rid of it, recycle it, or donate it. If you're not sure and you're having a hard time figuring out what to keep or what to not keep, ask yourself, does this have a purpose? Does it help with my delivering of instruction, or does it enhance the students' learning in any way? If the answer is no, get rid of it. For new teachers, you're not going to have the answer to that because you don't know yet. But while you're creating piles and laying things out, decide, is this garbage? Can I recycle this? Can I donate this? And if I'm going to keep it, which categories should I make? So as you're taking things out, start making categories. And some common categories that you can make are things like seasonal and special projects, paper goods, instructional materials, office supplies, student birthdays, electronics, books, household items, personal items, and paperwork / administrative forms that you might have for your students. So those are some basic categories that you could be making. As you're handling each item and taking things out and putting into the piles, into the different categories that I just mentioned, I want you to consider the next 4 things. 1, outdated items, damaged or worn items, multiple copies of something. For outdated items, discard any old, outdated resource that no longer meet educational standards that align with the curriculum and teaching goals. If you're not sure if something aligns or not, ask a colleague. Don't be afraid to ask. Now to damaged or worn out items. Now, this might seem like an obvious one. If something is damaged or worn out, just get rid of it. But what I found myself doing, like let's say if it was a little scrap piece of paper or like a piece of something, I figured, oh, let me keep it. The kids might be able to use it in arts and crafts project. I have been hoarding little pieces of garbage for some reason for years and have never used it. And finally, I got rid of them this time, after I had some coworkers come in and shame me for it. If you have multiple copies of things, keep a reasonable amount and then get rid of the rest. I promise you're not going to miss most things that you get rid of. Now let's move on to classroom aesthetics and the keeping of classroom decor. Now, I would keep borders and keep a lot of classroom decor, again, that I didn't use years upon years upon years. I already came up with a way of decorating my classroom that I don't need to keep all of those borders. There will be a video coming out about that, but for now, just know that keep things that you're actually going to use that school year, and you might keep extras just in case something rips and then you have to replace a patch of it or something. But if you're not for sure going to use it, just get rid of it. Just donate it to someone else. And make sure the decor in your classroom contributes positively to the classroom. I really don't have much on the walls because the majority of what I have in my walls, I create with my students through anchor charts. So that makes it even easier too, to not have to keep a lot of classroom decor. But remember, just keep what you're going to use. Get rid of the rest. Don't worry. You're not going to need it. You're not going to miss it. It'll be fine. Storage availability. Consider only keeping those things that you can store neatly and accessible. And having everything laid out will make it a lot easier to determine how much space you'll need for everything. And accessibility. You want to make sure that you're putting things in places based on how often you use them. So if you use something daily, make sure that it's out, easily accessible and near you. If it's weekly, put it somewhere where it's not in your direct view, but you can easily get to. And if you're unsure about what to get rid of, just temporarily keep it, especially as a new teacher, since you don't know. Temporarily keep it. And after like the first or second quarter, consider, have I used these things? Do I suspect I will use them? And if not, just go ahead and get rid of it. And my last and probably most important and underutilized tip is to ask for help. Ask an experienced colleague, should I keep this? Should I not keep this? Where do you keep this? What suggestions do you have? Seek out someone for help. And it doesn't even have to be a teacher. Maybe it's a mentor. Maybe it's somebody outside of the classroom and you're just talking to them and, explaining your plight, and they might give you some suggestions. Or if you have no one to go to, read a book or watch some helpful YouTube channels like this one. That's very helpful. There's an answer to your question everywhere. Seek out the help and do not be embarrassed for asking for help at any stage of teaching, whether it's decluttering, teaching, how to deal with a student, how to deal with a parent, anything. Ask for help. Now that you have a bird's eye view of everything, you've decluttered everything, and everything that you have left over, you will be keeping. Now the question is, where does it all go? In my classroom, I have drawers, I have cabinets, and I have a closet. So that's where my things will be kept. I'm curious to know what your storage situation is. So let me know down in the comments below. So now that you have everything laid out, where do we put it all? For example, paper goods. Some paper goods I have in drawers. So anything that's construction paper or cardstock or colored paper, I have in these drawers, which makes it very easy for me to see what's inside and to lift papers out rather than having them on a shelf, because when I pull one paper out, like they all come out with it. So I find having them in a drawer is much easier. Then when it comes to the copy paper and the lined paper, I have those stacked in my closet. As far as instructional material goes, the majority of it, if it's something that I use daily, it will just be kept next to my teacher desk. So anything for whole group or my small group instruction will be next to my teacher desk. If it's something that I use throughout the unit, but not a daily item, I will keep that in my closet. And any other instructional materials like worksheets or graphic organizers or notes or anything like that that go with the unit, I have filed away in these boxes, these plastic boxes with these filing hanging folders, but I plan to move them to a filing cabinet that I have, but that's going to have to be an August project because that filing cabinet I haven't been in, and I know it has a lot of instructional materials, so I'm going to dedicate just instructional material filing for August. For office supplies, you can put them in drawers or in labeled bins and on the shelf like I have. Decorations and things for holidays, keep those stored away and easily accessible for when you need them. Student birthdays, I keep in this box. A coworker that is no longer at the school made a bunch of birthday bags for her students, but never gave them out for some reason last year. So she gave them to me. So I'll give them to my students this year. The only thing is she wrote their names on it, so I'll just have to get a new bag. But those birthday gifts, I'll keep in a box inside the closet. Keep all of electronics together. I will keep mine in my closet. Books. Teachers organize their books by either grade reading level or by genre. I just have mine alphabetical order. Personal items such as lotion and things like that, I keep in with the household items. And the household items has like cleaning supplies and Ziploc bags and hand sanitizer and that sort of thing. My stash and my cabinet where I have that will also be an August project. And paperwork or administrative files, make sure to keep all in one spot. I have them in a plastic box inside of hanging files. And here it is, the final finished organized classroom. It feels so good to know that everything is where it's supposed to be and that I am now going to reap in the benefits of having already organized the classroom and getting myself ready for the next school year. I hope you found value in this video. Subscribe, because in the next video, I'm going to talk about how I design a classroom that is both functional and inviting. See you on the next one.